everyday English podcast
by English Talking Today.
Welcome back to English Talking Today, the podcast where we talk about real life in real English. I'm Mary, and with me as always is the wonderful Stephen.
Hello everyone, so good to be here with you all.
So Stephen, today's topic is one that, to be honest, has always kind of intimidated me. It's a word that for a long time I really didn't like. The topic is discipline.
Yeah, that's a heavy one, isn't it? When you hear that word, what's the first image that pops into your head? For me, it's always this kind of scary, military-style discipline. You know, waking up at 5 a.m., freezing cold shower, working out for 2 hours, never eating a cookie, and having to be perfect all the time.
Exactly. Me too. It's this image of a superhuman ideal. Like, you have to be this perfect robot who never feels lazy, who's always motivated, and who has no fun. And for most of us, it's not realistic, is it? It feels impossible, and so we don't even try.
Right, and that's a huge part of the problem. We've been sold this idea of discipline as this kind of brutal self-punishment. But what we want to talk about today is a different kind of discipline. A more gentle, human, and honestly, a more effective kind.
Yes, it's about redefining what discipline actually is. We've come to see it as something much simpler. Not a grand, overwhelming ideal, but a small, everyday act. It's about doing what you say you'll do, even when you don't feel like it. That's it. It's that simple. It's a commitment to yourself.
Exactly. And the magic of this is that it takes the pressure off. It's not about being perfect. It's about being consistent. Instead of trying to be a superhero, you're just a person who keeps their promises to themselves. So, we've got 4 key points today on how to cultivate this kind of gentle, human discipline. We're going to walk you through some really practical steps that have helped us a lot.
So, the first point is something we've both had to learn the hard way. It's to start small with tiny habits. I think the biggest mistake we all make is setting these massive, overwhelming goals. You want to learn English? Your goal is to be fluent in 6 months. You want to get healthy? You decide you're going to work out for 2 hours a day, 7 days a week.
And what happens, Mary? You do it for maybe 2 or 3 days. You feel completely exhausted and overwhelmed, and then you just stop completely. The goal becomes so big that it feels impossible and your brain goes into flight mode. It just runs away from the stress.
Right, so the better way is to do the complete opposite. It's about building momentum, not setting records. It's about a concept called tiny habits. Instead of working out for 2 hours, what if you just do 1 push-up? Just 1. Instead of reading a book for an hour, what if you just read 1 page?
And it sounds ridiculous, right? Just 1 push-up? But the point isn't the 1 push-up itself. The point is the act of doing it, of proving to yourself that you can follow through. It's about creating a small win. And that small win builds confidence, which in turn fuels the next small win. It's like a domino effect. The hardest part is often just getting started. So you make the start so ridiculously easy that you can't say no.
I love that. You make it so simple that saying no becomes harder than just doing it. I had a hard time getting into meditation. I would sit down and tell myself, okay, 20 minutes of total silence and stillness. And I would last maybe 30 seconds before I gave up. But then I read about tiny habits and I decided, okay, I'll just meditate for 1 minute.
And did it work?
It did. The first day I did it, I thought, well, that was so easy. And the next day I thought, okay, I can do 1 minute again. And then after a week of 1-minute sessions, it felt so easy that I naturally started extending it. That 1 minute became 2, then 5, and now I can comfortably do 10 or 15 minutes. The goal wasn't to meditate for a long time. The goal was to just start.
That's the key right there. It's about proving to yourself, I'm the kind of person who meditates. I'm the kind of person who reads. Or, in our case, I'm the kind of person who practices English. For our listeners who are trying to improve their English, a huge, vague goal like, I want to be fluent, can feel overwhelming. So, instead, what's a tiny habit? It could be listening to just 1 minute of an English podcast, or reading just one sentence of an English article, or saying just one English phrase out loud to yourself.
That's so powerful. It's not about the size of the action. It's about the consistency of the action. That small, daily act creates a little whisper of confidence in your mind. Over time, that whisper becomes a strong voice.
All right, so our second point builds directly on the first. It's to focus on systems, not just goals. Now, this might sound a little bit technical, but it's really the core of what we're talking about. A goal is a result you want to achieve. A system is a process that leads to that result.
That's a great way to put it. So, a goal would be, I want to run a marathon. A system would be, I will train 3 times a week for 30 minutes, increasing my distance by 10% each week. One is the destination. The other is the map to get there.
Exactly. Goals are great for setting a direction, but systems are what actually get you there. If you're an athlete, your goal is to win the championship. But your system is your daily practice, your nutrition plan, your recovery routine, and the specific drills you run. You can't control whether you win or not, but you can control whether you follow your system.
And that's the beautiful part of this. It takes the pressure off the outcome. You can't control everything in life, but you can control your actions. When you focus on the system, you're focused on the present moment. You're not worried about a distant future. You're just thinking, what's my system for today?
Exactly. And the magic of a good system is that it makes success feel inevitable. You're not relying on a sudden burst of motivation. You're relying on a slow, consistent process.
So much less stressful. When you have a clear system, you don't have to wake up and decide what to do. The decision is already made. That reduces what we call decision fatigue. If your goal is just practice English, you have to decide how every single day. Do I read? Do I listen? Do I write? What do I do? And that daily decision-making can be exhausting.
Totally. But if your system is, I will spend 15 minutes listening to a podcast while I make my breakfast every morning, the decision is already made. You just put on your headphones and start listening. The system takes the mental effort out of it. The magic of a good system is that it makes success feel inevitable. You're not relying on a sudden burst of motivation. You're relying on a slow, consistent process.
And I think it also helps you feel like you're always making progress, even if it's small. If you're focused on a goal and you don't hit it, you feel like you failed. But if you're focused on a system and you've done your daily 15 minutes of listening, you can say, yes, I followed my system today. That's a win. You feel good about yourself and you're building that sense of competence we talked about.
All right, so on to our third point. This is probably my favorite one, and it's something that completely changed my view of discipline. It's to make habits attractive. For so long, I thought discipline had to be painful. The more it hurt, the better it was for you, right? But that's totally wrong. The easier and more enjoyable a habit is, the more likely you are to stick with it.
You're so right. This is where we get to be a little bit sneaky and trick our brains. The core idea is what's often called habit stacking or temptation bundling. You take something you need to do and pair it with something you want to do.
Perfect. The classic example is someone who hates working out. You tell them, I will only allow myself to watch my favorite show, The Crown on Netflix, when I'm on the treadmill. Or I can only listen to my favorite podcast when I'm doing the dishes. You're linking something that feels like a chore with a reward that you actually look forward to.
It's genius because it makes the habit a little bit of a treat. The brain starts to associate the habit with pleasure. It's like, oh, I get to do my favorite thing. And all I have to do is this other thing I normally don't like. And over time, the line between the two things starts to blur. You might actually start to look forward to doing the dishes because it means you get to listen to that podcast. It's a way to practice English without it even feeling like practice. You're just doing something you love, and English is part of the package. You can also use small rewards. After you finish your daily 10 minutes of English practice, you can have a cup of your favorite tea or maybe a small piece of chocolate. It's a small reward for a small, consistent action.
This is so important because it taps into our brain's reward system. The more we get a little dopamine hit after an action, the more our brain wants to do that action again. So instead of fighting against our natural tendencies, we're working with them. We're making the path of least resistance the path of good habits.
So our final point is something that ties all of this together, and it's to manage willpower and energy. Stephen, you mentioned before that willpower feels like a muscle. What do you mean by that?
It's a great metaphor. You know how when you go to the gym, you can lift a heavy weight maybe 5 times, and then your muscle is completely exhausted? That's what willpower is like. It's a limited resource. Every time you have to make a tough decision, what to eat, whether to hit the snooze button, whether to go to the gym, you are using up a little bit of that willpower. And just like a muscle, it gets weaker and weaker the more you use it.
That makes so much sense. I've definitely felt that. By the end of a long, stressful day at work, my willpower is gone. I get home and I just want to sit on the couch and watch TV, even if I planned on doing something productive. I have no mental energy left to make a good choice.
This is why it's so dangerous to rely solely on willpower. If you're a busy person, you're using your willpower all day long just to get through your job and your responsibilities. So when you get home and you're faced with the choice, should I watch Netflix or should I study my English for 30 minutes? Guess which one wins? The easy no willpower choice.
So, what's the solution? The solution is to set yourself up for success before your willpower runs out. The first 3 points we talked about are all designed to do this. By starting with tiny habits, you make the action require almost no willpower. By having a clear system, you reduce the number of decisions you have to make each day. And by making your habits attractive, you make them things you want to do, not things you have to force yourself to do.
That's it. It's about building an environment and a process that makes the good choices easy. So, for example, if you want to start a new English learning habit, you don't wait until you get home from a long day to decide what to do. You set it up in the morning when your willpower is at its highest. Maybe you get your English book and a cup of coffee ready the night before. You lay out your workout clothes next to the bed, so they are the first thing you see when you wake up.
It's called designing your environment. When you come home tired from work, you don't have to think about it. The good choice is right there, ready to go. You're not fighting against yourself. You're just following the path you already laid out.
Exactly. And also, it's so important to remember to recharge that willpower battery. That means getting enough sleep, eating well, and giving yourself time to rest. You can't be disciplined all the time. Sometimes, the most disciplined thing you can do is give yourself a break so that you have the energy to follow through the next day.
I think that's a beautiful point. We have to be kind to ourselves. Discipline isn't about being a machine. It's about being a consistent human. It's about understanding our own limitations and working with them, not against them. So, let's quickly recap. We've talked about how to change our view of discipline from a scary, military-style concept to a gentle, human practice. The core idea is that discipline is just the act of doing what you say you'll do. And to do that, we have 4 key steps.
First, start small with tiny habits. Don't go for the big, overwhelming goal. Instead, start with an action so small you can't say no to it, like reading just 1 page of a book. It's about building momentum and a sense of accomplishment.
Second, focus on systems, not just goals. A goal is a result, but a system is a process. Create a clear, daily system that removes the need for daily decision-making. Instead of practice English, try listen to an English podcast for 10 minutes every day.
Third, make habits attractive. Pair something you want to do with something you need to do. Bribe your brain into making the good choices by rewarding yourself or linking a new habit with an old, enjoyable one.
And finally, manage your willpower and energy. Remember that willpower is a limited resource. Set yourself up for success when your willpower is high, so you don't have to rely on it when it's low. And remember to rest and recharge.
That's it. So, we hope that this has made the word discipline feel a little less scary. It's not about being perfect, and it's not about being a robot. It's about building a kind and consistent relationship with yourself.
And it all starts with just one tiny step. We'd love to know what tiny habit you're going to start with. Just 1 page, 1 push-up, or maybe 1 minute of English listening. Let us know in the comments below.
We'll see you all next time on English Talking Today.
Bye for now.